Hello, dear friends. Welcome to CEFRhouse channel. Today, I'm going to teach you present simple and adverbs of frequency. So let's get it started. So first rule, we use adverbs of frequency and frequency expressions to talk about how often we do things. How often we do things. So adverbs of frequency and frequency expressions, they express or they help us tell how often we do things. Okay. These are adverbs of frequency. So they are always, every now and then, hardly ever, most days, nearly always, never, occasionally, often, rarely, sometimes, and usually. All right. Now, they have differences in their meanings or according to the percentage. So let's convert these adverbs of frequency into these percentages. So 100%, 100%, it means you always do it. Yes, you say always, you do it. So 7 days a week. If you do something 7 days a week, you use always. So this is 100%. All right, next. If you do something 6 days a week, 6 days a week, you say most days, nearly always, often, and usually. All right. So for example, I always drink coffee in the morning. I always drink coffee in the morning. So you drink coffee from Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week. But you say, for example, you say, I drink coffee most days. I drink coffee most days, or I nearly always drink coffee, or I often drink coffee. I usually drink coffee. So it means you drink coffee 6 days a week. All right. Now, next. Every now and then, occasionally, and sometimes. So it means that you do something 4 or 5 days or times a week. For example, you say, I drink coffee every now and then. I drink coffee every now and then. Maybe you drink coffee 3 times a week or 4 times a week, maybe 5 times a week. I occasionally drink coffee. I occasionally drink coffee and I sometimes drink coffee. I sometimes drink coffee. So they all have the same meaning. So you do something 4 or 5, around 4 or 5, or maybe 3 times a week. All right. Now, hardly ever and rarely. Hardly ever and rarely. So you do something once a week, or once a month, or once a year, maybe. All right. I hardly ever drink coffee. I hardly ever drink coffee. So maybe I drink coffee once a week. That's all. Maybe once every 2 weeks. And I rarely drink coffee. They have the same meaning. I rarely drink coffee, or I rarely play football. I rarely uh, meet out, like go out, because I'm too busy. I study. I'm at home. All right, and never. It's 0%. You can see 0%. So you never do something. For example, I never drink coffee. I never drink coffee. So I have healthy diet. I don't drink coffee and I don't consume any caffeine. All right. I hope this slide is understandable. And next slide is about, so first rule, in positive and negative sentences, the adverb of frequency goes before the main verb. Now let's talk about the positions of adverbs of frequency. The positions in sentences. Where do we use? So in positive and negative sentences, we use them, i.e. adverbs of frequency, before the main verb. Before the main verb. For example, they usually take their children on holiday. They usually take their children on holiday. Here you can see main verb take, and adverb of frequency is usually. So this is before the main verb. Okay. Next example. You nearly always phone your parents on Sundays. You nearly always phone your parents on Sundays. So here you can see main verb phone. Nearly always is an adverb for frequency, and it's used before main verb. So nearly always phone. Okay. Next example. We hardly ever see each other. We hardly ever see each other. So see is main verb, hardly ever is adverb of frequency. Next. I don't always understand English people. I don't always understand English people. So here you can see this is negative sentence, by the way, and don't is like it's an auxiliary verb. After this is always, it's adverb of frequency, and main verb is understand. By the way, hardly ever it makes it, the word is usually positive, but the meaning of the sentence is negative. So hardly ever means almost never, almost never. So that's why this sentence has a negative connotation, negative meaning. All right. Okay. So with the positions of adverb frequency in positive and negative sentences is, I hope, is clear. Now, questions. In questions, the adverb of frequency goes after the subject. So it's after the subject. For example, do you often do your homework on the train? Do you often do your homework on the train? So here you can see you is subject, then adverb of frequency, then main verb. So in questions, adverb of frequency between subject and main verb. Between subject and main verb. And next example. Does she always send text messages so late? Does she always send text messages so late? So here you can see she is subject, always adverb of frequency, and send is a verb of the sentence. Okay, now I hope it's clear. Now, next page. The adverb of frequency goes after be in positive sentences and after not in negative sentences. All right, now let's talk about be, the position of be. So let's look at examples. First one, we are usually late. We are usually late. So here you can see are, it's to be, and adverb of frequency usually. It's written after are, part of the verb to be. Okay, so after be, we use adverb of frequency. You can see here. Next one. You're nearly always on the telephone in the evening. You're nearly always on the phone in the evening. So here you can see are again. It's contracted with you, your, nearly always. Nearly always is after be. So I'm not often tired at the weekend. I'm not often tired at the weekend. Now here you can see the sentence is negative. There is then not, and then often, adverb of frequency. It's written, adverb of frequency is written here after not. Next, he isn't usually happy first thing in the morning. He isn't usually happy first thing in the morning. So here you can see is, then not, it's contracted isn't, and usually. Usually is after is and not. All right. They're sometimes in a bad mood. They are sometimes in a bad mood. So are and sometimes. So sometimes is used after be. All right. So now let's talk about questions. In questions, the adverb of frequency goes after the subject. After the subject, you use adverb of frequency. For example, are you always busy on Saturdays? Are you always busy on Saturdays? So you subject always is adverb of frequency. Is he hardly ever at home? Is he hardly ever at home? So he is subject, hardly ever is adverb of frequency. Okay, now we have sorted it out. And let's jump to the next slide. We also use other frequency expressions. For example, once a week, twice a month, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, 5 times a year, and they usually go at the end of the sentence. At the end of the sentence. So, for example, she visits her grandmother 3 times a year. She visits her grandmother 3 times a year. 3 times a year is at the end of the sentence. Okay, that is full stop. Next example. Do you go to English lessons once or twice a week? Do you go to English class lessons once or twice a week? So once or twice a week is used at the end of the question. Actually, this is question. Right. I hope it's understandable. And next rule. Expressions such as every now and then, most days, etc. They can go at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. So now these kind of expressions, they can be either at the beginning or at the end, but you should choose only one position. For example, the sentence, I think about traveling abroad. I think about traveling abroad. Every now and then, I think about traveling abroad. Every now and then, I think about traveling abroad. So here you can say every now and then at the beginning of the sentence. Next example, I think about traveling abroad every now and then. Here you can see after or at the end of the sentences. I think about traveling abroad every now and then. And full stop. Okay, so both, beginning or ending positions are possible for these expressions, but you cannot use them in the middle. After verb, you cannot use these expressions. All right. In negative sentences, sometimes goes before the auxiliary. In negative sentences, it's a kind of exception. For example, we sometimes don't talk to each other for weeks. We sometimes don't talk to each other for weeks. I said it's exception. Why? Because there was a rule that you should use sometimes, adverb of frequency after auxiliary verb. Actually, you say, for example, we don't usually talk. If you say usually, let's take usually as an example. We don't usually talk, you say. So it comes after don't, before talk. But sometimes it's exception. You don't use it after don't or doesn't, but you should use it before auxiliary verb. All right. So that's why it's we sometimes don't talk. Okay. And finally, there is a task. Decide where the adverb of frequency in expression of frequency or expression of frequency should go in these examples. So here you can see adverb of frequency and expression of frequency in the brackets. And of course, so there are 5 sentences. You should decide where these adverbs go in these sentences. You can pause the video and do this task. After that, I will reveal the answers and you can check that. All right, once you have finished, you can check. So you say, I never go to bed midnight. I never go to bed. So you use never before work. My friends text. So my friends rarely text me late at night. My friends rarely text me late at night. So rarely goes before text. The word here, text. I am sometimes awake until 2 a.m. I am sometimes awake. Here, sometimes is used after to be, after be. So next one. Do you call your parents most days? Do you call your parents most days? Most days goes at the end of the sentence. And I don't do exercise for weeks. So I sometimes don't do exercise for weeks. So sometimes is used before auxiliary verb here. So I hope today's class lesson is understandable. So you can ask me questions in comment section if you have mistakes here. Even if you don't have mistakes, you got all right, please let me know in comment section. If you have questions, please ask me in comment section. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel for new videos and push that push that bell for new videos for notifications. And if you have like if you want to learn something different, you can write in the comment section. I will do my best to help you to learn something new in English, with grammar or with vocabulary, something like that. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody watching this video, and good luck to you all. Please be safe and keep learning English.